So I have a friend. Let's call him Jack. Jack has spent his entire life in the earnest pursuit of goodness. Everything he has done has been in order to grow the spiritual heart of himself and everyone around him. And a few minor speed bumps occur in his life. But he is strong. He is a God of man. He's a man of God. He is a man of faith. And he feels that the universe is listening to him, it understands him, and it is doing everything in his life is unfolding for his own good and for his own spiritual benefit. So minor speed bump happens early in his life. He loses a child at birth. And if that's not enough, a few years later, and he is diagnosed with cancer. Now, this wasn't that long ago. In fact, this was about 2 years ago. He fights the good fight with all the positivity in the world, knowing God will heal him, everything will work out. It's all part of the plan. And yes, he goes through all the treatments, he loses all his hair, and he comes out the other side victorious and healed. And I could see a transformation in him for the better. Such a cruel fate, but with a happy ending. So then life decides to play more tricks, but politely. Kind of steals from him while sort of looking him in the eye and saying, don't worry, keep going, it's all good. A few days ago, he is transporting some young boys to a church event. They're all musicians in the car with him. People he is proud of, people he has nurtured. He is a teacher. He is a man of guidance and strength and mentoring, and people swarm around him like he is a pot of honey because he is so incredibly wise and good. This is a very good man, one of the few I've met. And they're driving to their destination and a car accident occurs. So Jack is driving and the three youngsters are in the car with him. We don't know all the details, but one boy passes away on the scene. Another boy is not in a good place and might not make it. Still in hospital. And my friend Jack and one of the other younger boys makes it out. Almost unscathed. And you would then think, praise God for saving Jack, to be good and kind to everyone and to push the spiritual energy of the world forward. God saved him. But did it? I mean, how much can a man take? You're driving and you kill someone's son. And all you've ever wanted to do your whole life is just love and care and nurture every youngster in your vicinity. So, Jack might be alive, but there must certainly be a part of him that has died. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous that life seems to almost be pranking us. I know all the spiritual gurus and people will be saying, it's all part of the plan of his life. But if you see this man now, This man smiled his way through his child's death. He smiled his way through his cancer treatment. He's not smiling anymore. In fact, it's worse than smiling. It's manic. When I see him now, he's joking and laughing as if he's possessed by some court jester. And then when you see him alone, he is broken, cold. You know, when you see someone and they've got that, I don't know what you call the stare, that sort of 10-yard stare of absolute nothingness, as if the soul has just flickered out. Many of us, we get it all together. We get our lives together. We do all the right things. We come out of school studying. We form a family. We make sure we make enough money to feed them. We buy a house because society is needing us to be all of these things. We work at the same place, sometimes a job we hate, for years upon end, so that we can get the retirement package, so that we can retire and not be a burden to our children. We buy everything that is advertised to us in order for us to feel good, to feel that we have everything materialistically that would make us look like a success. And then we die. Life is absurd. And what is the trick that the world is playing on us? And is it playing a trick, and does it even care? We're sold security as if it's a badge of honor. If you have your family, your home, your money in the bank, your retirement annuity, then you're safe. You're going to be good. No. The only thing you get out of life is uncertainty and chaos. So Alan Watts, he knew this, he spoke about it, and he said, the desire for security and the feeling of insecurity are the same thing. The more I look at life, the more I think he was right. Because there's no security and there's no insecurity. It's somewhere in the middle of the chaos. That is life. And the tighter you hold onto security and comfort, the faster it moves away from you. Jack thought he had the perfect life. He knew there were hurdles along the way, and each hurdle he gracefully accepted and navigated. But this last one, how do you console a friend in a place like this? How do you say it's God's plan? It's life's plan. Don't worry. Yes, you lost a child. You had cancer, and you were driving the car in which someone's son died. But it's all part of the plan. Don't worry. Keep going. Keep going. Keep being positive. Keep believing that there is some godly path that you are following. No one's trying to trick you. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's going to make you more godly. So my question is, at what point of pain threshold can we decide to just opt out and say, you know what, I'm good. I'm good. I am quite happy not to be the messenger of good in this world. I think I'm just going to opt out and just let life, let the river just take me down the river. I'm not going to fight this good fight anymore. Life tells us that if you've got everything together, you'll be comfortable, you're going to live a good life. But the truth is, comfort is a scam. I once read a comment on a video that was talking about this very same thing, and it said, the curse of consciousness is to be able to see the slavery and yet be forced to live as a slave. Now, I'm not talking about you being a slave of your circumstances necessarily, because we know that life is random and unplanned, and well, there's probably not that much reality in the fact that there's an omnipotent God that is leading everything and there's a plan for everything. So we kind of understand it's, yeah, you're born into chaos. You just roll with it. It's difficult to see it and live through it. And I think that's where this comment, see the slavery yet be forced to live as a slave, see the randomness and yet be forced to not be able to have any solid ground to stand on. Never know what tomorrow will bring. If there is karma, can you karmically surround yourself with all the good things and save yourself from any tragedy? No, you can be the best of the best of the best as far as a spiritual warrior is concerned, and you are going to be the target of probably the world's most pain. That's where this absurdity comes from. So what do we get to do with this information? I suppose we need to understand that nothing is secure, so don't place your plans, your life path. Don't plan things out knowing, oh yes, it's absolutely going to work out, and life has sort of put a little bit of space for me to walk my little plan through. No, there will probably be some sort of avalanche along the way that'll kind of wipe out the path you planned. You also have to make another plan. No, all you can actually do is to stay present and just map it out as you go, day by day. Don't plan too far ahead. I think a lot of the gurus actually say that. Just be present. You can have your dreams, and dreams are very good. I fully feel every human should embrace any visions and dreams they have of their future. I think the key is not to map out every detail and every scenario for getting to the place you want to get to. I think have a vision of where you want to go and then just wing it. As things come up, it's like some of those video games, where you're having to jump over things, and you know where you have to get to that side of, I don't know, the valley, but there's going to be so many obstacles, people coming at you, rocks, bombs, whoever, but you just got to navigate. That's how you win the game. Okay, so this is thinking that that's a good plan for life. If you live that way, you're not going to be so anxious. It would be good to have a life that's less anxious. You don't want to die one day like totally riddled with cancer and all kinds of diseases and heart effects, because all you've been doing is just trying to control all the minute details of the actions you need to do to affect the plan and get satisfactory result. Maybe that's real sanity. The absurdity of life is that it is so random and so chaotic. So the way to stay sane is just not to plan too much. Just roll with it. Not be lazy. Not be passive. That's not going to do you any good either, because then life will just roll you around inside its whirlwind. So you've got to have some anchors. Some plans, some strategies. You've got to have all of that so that you're not blown around willy-nilly. But be flexible. Be like water. As an obstacle comes up, you just flow around it. Something to be said with what those wise people always talk about. Be like water. I like to think I'm like water. I've actually been described as that. I don't even know if there's ever been a time in my life where I haven't been water. Maybe I just learned early on that just flow. Definitely create your own little channels so that you're not flowing with everyone else. That is me. Definitely going to create my own little channel. My water's going to go down. I'm not going down with a big river. I'm like one of those estuaries. And I know ultimately I'm going to flow together with everybody else and land up in the sea, pass away and just hum. But ultimately, even on my own little path of water, there are many obstacles that I have needed to sort of flow around. And in my very immature wisdom at this age, maybe it's taught me a few things that I'm able to pass on to you as the viewer. Or not. But I am, I guess, entertaining to watch, and that's why you're here. And hopefully you will take a little bit of truth away. So if you want to be like water, it's almost like effortless action. You are acting, you are flowing, but it's effortless. You're planning. It's not passive because it's still action, but it's effortless. It's led by an inner knowing and intuition. So doing without forcing would be how some people would put it. Doing without forcing. Is that even possible? Yes, it is. Try it. I have to think about myself as a musician. And I have spent many years studying jazz. And I started as a classical pianist. And so the only thing I ever knew from 5 years old was the only way to play the piano was to read the music that was given to you. When I reached my teenage years, I started composing my own music, and that was cool. So writing my own songs, and in a way it was a form of improvisation, I suppose, but I always had to write it down so that when I came back the next day, I still remembered what I had composed. And then I hit my 20s. I left school, and suddenly I was on the path of the jazz musician. And jazz gives you the framework, but not the notes. And suddenly I had to work out how to become a good improviser. And so for those of you that don't know anything about jazz, you are given the chords, you're giving the framework. The whole band, everyone in it will be playing those chords and the framework, and then someone will be, and then of course the melody is always written out for you because everybody's going to play the melody, and they start with a melody and they end with a melody. That's like the main theme that you hear when you listen to jazz. It comes at the beginning, then there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens in the middle, like adventurous, you could say, unexpected, with the same chords and framework at the bottom. And then right at the end, you get what they call the head. You get the well-known melody playing again. So I had to learn that there's this thing called improvisation, which means you need to let the notes flow unencumbered over the chord structure you're given. No melody. As a classical pianist, this was the most frightening thing because there was nothing written. I actually said to my teacher, just write the solo out for me, write the improvisation out for me. I am too scared to play the wrong notes. And then he said, Lindy, you're only a semitone away from the right note. What that means to non-musicians is, let's look at the piano. Piano has black and white keys. And so a semitone is between the black and the white note. So if you've played a black note and it was incorrect, just fall onto the white note and you'll be on the correct note. So semitone away from the right note. So the lesson in this is that sometimes the most beautiful music that I've ever played has been during improvisation and during a solo where it just flowed naturally out of me. It wasn't written by Mozart 500 years ago. It was written by me in that moment of spontaneity. Getting back to the story of Jack, it made me realize that no matter how much we try and wrap ourselves up in bubble wrap, hi. No matter how much we try and protect ourselves from things going wrong, it's it's impossible. And the truth is, life has no safety net. You know, in the circus, those guys doing trapeze and things, if they fall, it's okay. They've got a safety net. Life doesn't have that, and that's so crazy. How brave must we as humans be to step out on the tightrope of life and know that there is no safety net? Congratulate yourself in this moment for being brave, for just being alive. The fact is, things are going to go wrong, and some people are going to slip off that safety road and hurt themselves, maybe tragically. Some won't even step onto the tightrope. They won't even try. And even in that aspect, it's even more tragic than having tried and then fallen. And then there'll be the few that are able to pass through, make it to the other side. And to me, that's the miracle. So I guess, are there lessons that Jack is supposed to learn from all of these absurd situations that are continue to show up in his life? And I'm sure there are people out there, you watching my video, that have had even worse things happen to you. And you might be feeling right now so lost, so confused, almost downhearted. And the truth is, I honestly don't know what to say to you. When I see Jack, and I see him almost every day, the best I can do is give him the biggest smile and run to him and give him the biggest hug. There are no words. I cannot sit here and talk to you and help you through what you're going through. I won't lie to you and say, it's going to be okay. You don't need to hear that. That's almost condescending. It's almost saying, you know, you're in the valley at the moment, but you'll get, you'll get up to the mountain and the sun will shine again. Anyone in the valley does not want to hear that they're going to still have to climb a hill to see the sunshine. I guess the only thing that I can leave you with is the visual of, you have found this video, you are in the valley, it's dark down there and it's cold, but as you are walking through the valley, you have found this video, which is this little fire in the middle of nowhere, where you are able to sit in silence and enjoy the warmth and the light for the moment. Yes, you will then ultimately, once the fire has died out, have to stand up and continue walking. But you'll find another fire. Even though life is absurd and does so many random things, for some reason, it doesn't want us to give up. So it gives us a few moments of relief in between the madness. Alan Watts said, "You are not a puppet fighting the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself." Dance with it, move through it. Surround yourself with nature. Watch how everything is not forced. And most certainly, nothing is questioned in nature. It just becomes, and then unbecomes. Stop trying to control the stage of your life. Stop trying to control the show. And just sit back and take part in the show. And at other times, when your energy is low and you can't anymore, take a seat and just watch the show. Maybe I can leave you with a few ideas of what to do next, although who am I to even say anything, but let's try. Take some risks. And a risk could be as big as just getting out of bed and standing at the window and letting the sunlight fall on your face. Take time to watch the world go by. See other people. Observe them, also struggling. And that will help you know you're not alone. If you can get out into nature, it can't be that far away from where you are. There must be a park. There must be trees in your garden, a piece of grass. Start there. You don't have to set up a whole hike and go walking in the mountains for days. Although you could. Sit with people and be present. It's not always easy, especially if there's a lot of fakery around. But find people that allow you to be silent and just feel the energy of the moment. Allow things to fall apart on purpose. Don't try and control it. Allow the accident to happen before your eyes. Try and witness yourself without judging or shaming or guilting yourself. Stop grasping, stop chasing. The fact is, any security and control you want to feel over your life it's impossible. I think one of my greatest lessons has been that feel the fear and just sit in it. So many times that's been the only way I've been able to overcome anything. Whether it be as a young child, I've told this story before, sitting in the cable car, going up to Table Mountain, and with my terrible fear of heights, feeling that cable car swaying in the wind, it was so terrifying. And it took me years to ever get over my fear of heights, but once I did, now I can walk wherever I want, be at a cliff edge with the wind blowing at 100 knots. It doesn't matter. I can boldly go anywhere because I've overcome my fear. So step into it. It'll certainly boost your confidence and make you feel alive, maybe. I guess at the end of the day, just loosen your grip. Let go and fall into life. Fall into whatever absurdity and madness comes your way. Flow like water. But don't flow with everybody. Create your own path. Today, as with every day, you are going to be fine. Might not feel like it right now. But everything reaches an equilibrium at the end. Everything will even out. It will not always be bad. It will not always be good. But somewhere in the middle, you'll survive. See you next time. America's most beloved poet spent his life bearing children and turned that unbearable grief into the most quietly devastating verses ever written. Robert Frost wasn't the gentle grandfather of American poetry. He was a man who clawed beauty out of heartbreak with his bare hands. But his life was anything but peaceful. His father drank heavily and died of tuberculosis when Robert was just 11. His mother, unmoored by grief, young Robert learnt early, the world doesn't owe you safety. By 20, he had married his high school sweetheart, Eleanor White, and they buried their first child, died at the age of 3 years. This was the first of many losses that would define Frost's life. His poems looked pastoral, simple observations, but inside them were razor blades, loneliness, indecision, the violence of choice, the weight of unspoken grief. He once said, "A poem begins in delight and ends in wisdom." His began in pain and ended in survival. A tragedy followed Robert Frost like a faithful dog. His daughter died in 1934 at the age of 29 from complications of childbirth. Frost was shattered. His beloved wife Eleanor, the woman he'd loved since they were teenagers, died in 1938. Frost was never the same. He called her death the end of everything. And then in 1940, his son Carroll, depressed and struggling, took his own life with a hunting rifle. Of his 6 children, 4 predeceased him. How do you survive that? How do you write after burying your own children, your wife, your entire world? Frost wrote about woods, about walls, about roads not taken. He wrote about nature, not to escape people, but to understand them and to forgive them and himself. His famous poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, ends with the lines, "The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." People read it as peaceful. Frost knew it was about the temptation to give up and the choice to keep going anyway. That's why his woods felt real, not as scenery but as sanctuary. Not as escape but as a place where you decide whether to continue. He turned what could have been a failure into one of the most moving performances in American political history, not by succeeding at what he'd planned, but by adapting when plans failed. A perfect metaphor for his entire life. What Frost teaches us. He wasn't a soft poet of snowy woods and quaint New England charm. He was a survivor who stitched philosophy to grief, who took unbearable loss and transformed it into art that people could hold on to in their own dark moments. He didn't write about nature's peace. He wrote about how to keep walking when peace is gone, and the only sound left is your own heartbeat against the cold. He wrote about choices we agonize over, fences we build between ourselves and others, promises we keep even when we're exhausted, and the woods that look lovely and dark and deep when we're too tired to go on. His genius wasn't in petrifying life, it was in telling the truth about it, quietly, simply, in language anyone could understand, while hiding the full weight of his sorrow just beneath the surface. 4 Pulitzer Prizes, Poet Laureate of Vermont, the voice of American poetry for half a century, but also a man who buried 4 of his 6 children, who lost the wife he loved, who battled depression and guilt, who knew what it meant to want to stop by the woods and not come back, and who chose again and again to keep going, miles to go before I sleep. But his words remain, not as comfort exactly, but as companionship. For everyone who has ever stood at a crossroads, or stacked stones into walls, or stopped by woods on a dark evening and wondered if they had the strength to continue. Frost whispers, "I know, I felt it too, and I kept walking."
2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.